earth shall receive my magnificence, my glory. My great works will begin once I arrive, and there shall be no other gods before me.
The System Shock remake is a big deal to a lot of people. I've never played either of the original games, but from what I've read, they're some of the most beloved games of all time. In the 90s, I was too busy ripping heads off and blowing up cars in the streets of Paris to have time for whatever kind of game System Shock is. Going into this, I didn't know much about it. All I knew is that Prey from 2017 was supposedly a spiritual successor to it. And having played Prey a bunch over the years, I see it. Methodical exploration of a space station, finding emails and notes from all the dead passengers and scientists, kinetic and electric weapons, suit modifications, hacking minigames and puzzles. I totally see where Prey comes from now that I played the System Shock remake. So why don't I like this? I want to make it clear that what I'm going to say about this game has nothing to do with the kind of game System Shock is or is trying to be. I don't want to turn it into something else. Rather, I think certain key elements of its design are flawed and keep it from being a great, worthwhile experience in my eyes. I know this isn't a AAA budget remake, and some of the stuff I didn't like is probably amazing for fans of the original. The team developing this game appears to be a passionate and devoted group that wants to do their best to respect the source material while also putting their own stamp on it. So I don't want you to think of this so much as a review, and more as me just explaining why this game didn't work for me, while it probably works for many others, especially fans of the original title. Let's start with the stuff I do like. I like the setup. After using your superior hacker skills, you let loose a crazy AI aboard a space station, and now all the experiments are running around killing people, robots are trying to kill you, it's a mess. Thanks to the game's slow pace and interesting setup, I enjoyed listening to all the voice recordings and reading emails to find out what's going on. There's important clues about your missions as well, not just the occasional passcode, but hints about your objectives and specific locations where you can find cool stuff like weapon upgrades, ammo, etc. It all ties together nicely, and for the most part I was engaged in the narrative. Shodan is a creepy character, speaking in the retro glitchy computer kind of way that's really fun. The stuff she says is fucking crazy, and I love it.
Out of the chaos, they will run and whimper, praying for me to end their tedious anarchy. I am drunk with this vision. God. The title suits me well.
I like the management of your energy bar through battery refills and recharge stations around the map, allowing use of your powerful energy weapons and different suit modifications that give you a shield or a sort of jetpack jump or a dashing ability. The energy weapons are great against robots, and the energy pistol can actually be overcharged to do a bunch of damage in one shot, at the cost of a lot of energy, and you can't fire it a bunch. Different kinds of grenades are nice to experiment with, EMPs, frags, gas grenades, mines, and there's a suitably diverse selection of kinetic weapons, allowing different kinds of ammo to be switched out quickly. I find the new inventory and scrap system to be interesting, that you can pretty much turn anything you find into scrap metal by pressing vaporize, and that clears up inventory space. You take that scrap metal to a recycler and it gives you 1 credit per 10 pieces of scrap, and you take those credits to vending machines. But there are many items you find that actually yield more credits if you take them directly to the recycler instead of turning them into scrap first. So you've got a cool inventory management decision if you're going to clear up space at the sacrifice of additional credits, or crowd up your inventory with recyclable materials and risk not being able to pick up important resources like health or ammo or additional weapons. Decision making, I like it. I was initially put off by the lack of an auto-sort feature that seems like an obvious quality of life addition they should have made, but pretty soon I settled into the manual sorting, setting my weapons to the left, using the top for resources and the bottom for materials. I'd prefer an auto-sort, but the slow pace of the game and the ability to vaporize items makes manual sorting not so bad. Though I do wish opening your inventory paused the game like it does in Prey, because when I decide I want to use something that's not in my quick menu while in combat, I gotta run and hide around a corner to find time to equip it. And if I die doing that, then I'll just reload and equip it beforehand anyway, so what's the difference? The dying system does kinda confuse me though. I mean, if you die, you gotta watch this cutscene of Shodan taking your body away, but if you find a restoration bay, you get teleported back there instead. But it saves your progress. So I guess there's a bit of a consequenceless aspect of combat happening here, because sometimes I would die in combat from some residual explosion after having killed everyone, and then I teleport back to the save station, retrace my steps, and everyone is still dead, and now I have full health without spending any resources on it. It doesn't seem right. I think there should be some kind of usable token that allows you to reset like this, something that's limited, or maybe respawning like this costs 50 scraps, so you always want to make sure you have scrap metal on you. Because I'm not a fan of there being no consequence for dying and seeing everything you killed stay dead after respawning. I think you should have to repeat the whole fight if you die in the middle of it. Proteus, anyone? There's already a hard save system where you can save at almost any time, and there's auto-save checkpoints. And there's a free respawn system? Am I crazy for thinking there should either be saves or restoration bays, not both? Just put a few more restoration bays around the map and let me choose where I respawn, forcing a replay of events, and eliminate the checkpoints and the ability to save at any time. Because to me, it feels a bit like playing classic Resident Evil with save states, and that ruins the entire experience of tension and tough decision making. Imagine if in Resident Evil you kill a bunch of zombies and then die without saving. You reload back at the typewriter, go back to where you died, and all the zombies are already dead. Wouldn't that just suck all the consequences out of the gameplay? The only consequence at that point would be having to retrace your steps. Time. Time would be the only consequence. And so I guess we gotta get into the real negatives here, for me at least. I'm well aware this is going to be a case of big surprise, Mayo doesn't understand System Shock. But I think I do. I get it. Exploration, story, resource management, puzzle solving, combat. That's all right up my alley. I don't think you can be as big of a Prey fan as I am and not at least understand and respect the legacy of System Shock. I can see why this ambitious game from 1994 made such an impact on players and future developers. It's like a remake-remaster hybrid. We get some new mechanics and updated visuals to freshen things up, but the gameplay feels straight out of the 90s, and not necessarily in a good way, because the AI is incredibly uninteresting and unsophisticated, and the map is just horrendous. That second point is going to come down to my own tastes, I suppose, so let's stick with the first one. Engaging enemies with melee attacks is unsatisfying. The mutated humans are basic and boring, just walking at you and swinging their arms when they get close. Guards just pretty much stand there out in the open doing nothing, swaying back and forth, unloading their pistols at you. Drones just float around. These bacteria things or whatever they are just spawn in and float towards you. I don't feel like I'm actually in combat with anyone. I feel like I'm just shooting dumb AI until I clear the room. Though I do enjoy the occasional grenade toss into a big group. It can be fun to throw down an EMP on a big robot, use your electric pistol on the small ones, and then switch to the shotgun for the humans. There are moments where managing the enemies got pretty intense and I had to improvise or come up with a plan. Occasionally. But for the majority of my experience, combat felt wimpy and I didn't enjoy it much. You may say, well, this game isn't supposed to be a run and gun shooter, it's not combat focused. But it is combat focused. Even on the lowest difficulty, enemies are everywhere. They snipe you from across the room, sneak up on you, box you in, swarm you. This is a very combat heavy game. On higher difficulties, you gotta be really careful and depend more on smart use of limited weapons, meaning you need to engage more in exploration to find what you need to survive. It all works, but if the combat doesn't do it for me, then it doesn't do it for me. It's not even an issue of it being easy or hard, it can definitely be challenging. I just ultimately don't like how it feels. I don't need the combat to be amazing though, if the other elements of gameplay hold strong. Like I said, I like the inventory system and the whole scrap recycling thing, but there's a lot of annoyances that pop up. It got really tiresome seeing my inventory fill up to completion every 2 to 3 rooms, having to open it up and individually vaporize every material. Eventually I just didn't want to do it anymore. The recycler itself is problematic because you can only put like 4 or 5 items in it. Why? It's already extremely punishing to try to carry stuff to the recycler because of how much space it takes up. You can't let us dump it all in at once now that we finally found the damn recycler, of which there's only one per floor. I gotta put in a few things, recycle, then put in a few more, recycle, a few more. What's the point of this limitation? I'm gonna recycle everything anyway, why not let me do it all at once? So the combat has about 70% fallen flat for me, and the scrap collecting has worn down my patience. What about the puzzles? Oh yes, System Shock has many puzzles, and 3 levels of difficulty for puzzles. That's nice, I'm all for puzzle accessibility. And I love a good puzzle here and there, you guys know that. But god damn, what is this? An energy path slide puzzle hybrid, where a bunch of dials turn 4 other spaces near them? This is the normal puzzle difficulty for the first puzzle in the game? Wow. Okay, I mean it does unlock a very early recycler and an alternate exploration path for the entire map, so I guess it's fine to lock it off behind something quite challenging and time-consuming. I'll let this one go. But these puzzles are everywhere. I don't know which ones are optional or mandatory. I think the wire puzzles are the ones that aren't for secret materials, maybe? And they're simpler. But even on the easy puzzle difficulty, some of these might take you a while. And that's okay, I'm not complaining about any single puzzle being too difficult. The issue is that they're all the same. Puzzle after puzzle after puzzle, just connecting the energy pathways. Puzzle 1, puzzle 2, puzzle 1, puzzle 2. Maybe they get better later on, but this is a 9-level map and the first 5 levels all have the same fucking puzzles. One area actually had 3 of the same puzzle in a row to open one door, and that made me quite happy that I had turned down the puzzle difficulty to easy to save time, because I'm not about to waste half an hour or more doing 3 of these puzzles that I've already done 15 times before. Thank God you find items that allow you to bypass at least a few puzzles as you progress. I'm not here to call this game bad, people enjoy different things. Some people won't care about the stuff I care about. But this is bad. Worse than the flying around shooting things in virtual reality when you open doors. Prey gets shit for its mediocre hacking minigames, but at least they're short. Here you're flying around with no booster ability, just 1 speed, shooting slow projectiles at things moving around until you get to the end and shoot a big energy source and then you escape. They are quite long, and every time I entered one of these sections I let out a groan so loud the neighbors could hear. Overload, this is not. It just made me want to play Overload, a fantastic 2017 Descent-style zero-gravity shooter filled with intense combat and exploration. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's certainly better than this, and it doesn't have an FOV slider that completely ignores me and resets to default every time I apply changes. These flying sections are so long, so uninteresting, so slow, that I would just get bored and fuck around and die. And now I have to go all the way back and repeat the whole damn thing. And it made me ask myself, why am I still playing this? It's been 8 hours already. It's been 8 hours, I'm lost, I'm confused, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. That's probably what a lot of you have been waiting to hear about. The whole we don't believe in hand-holding principle of System Shock's design. There's this tendency amongst some gamers to dismiss anything designed to assist a player as hand-holding, and I reject that. Yes, many games go overboard in telling you exactly what you're supposed to be doing at any point. This modernized Silent Hill 2 video makes me laugh hysterically every time. But since the term hand-holding is clearly being used as a patronizing insult, it should be reserved for these excessive displays of a lack of faith in the player. There's a big difference between hand-holding and simply providing useful or even crucial information. For example, in System Shock, in the first room, they tell you the button you need to press to interact with objects. They explicitly tell you what to pick up. They tell you what to click to access the healing bed. Is this hand-holding? Is this something to be upset about? No, it's not. It's fine to get players accustomed. So there's a spectrum of player assisting before we get to the hand-holding level. There is nothing wrong with modern games stating what your objective is. I appreciate that notes and audio logs can guide you towards what you're supposed to be doing. I do, I like that aspect of System Shock. I respect it. But what happens when I put the game down for a couple days, and I come back? and I say, what was I doing again? What am I looking for? Oh, right, there's nothing to remind me what my objective was in this giant game full of similar objectives and interconnected floors. In a game this big, that feeling sucks, and is going to keep this game from finding a larger audience. Even the several minute-long hacking sections, when you're finished, can leave you wondering where you are and what you were in the middle of doing. I'm not saying that a stated objective should be mandatory, but I think there should be the option to display what you're currently working on. Because man, these levels, I guess they're being faithful to the originals, but they are confusing to navigate. And while I appreciate a big space to figure out, I don't enjoy navigating it when the map looks like this. Every floor, the map looks like this. And most crucially, everything looks the same. Every room on the first floor looks like the same room to me. And look, if the original was like this, fine. Maybe this is great if you're a fan of the original. For me, it just made me kind of sleepy after a while and led me to getting turned around a lot more than I think is necessary. Forgive me for bringing up Resident Evil again, but those are maze-like maps that I actually enjoy exploring because they're a bit more contained, but more importantly, the spaces are distinct. If you walk into the dining room, you remember you've already been there, and you remember that it connects to the main hall. You remember that long hallway next to it where the dogs attacked you. You remember the staircase and the chandelier. Your mind can start piecing together your surroundings because of the distinct characteristics of the rooms. When every room is the same colored metal floors and walls with lights on them, how am I supposed to build an image of this place in my head? You can do it, but it takes so long, and it makes me so bored to be walking around seeing the same stuff for hours. Finally getting in the elevator and expecting to see something new, just to open the doors and find another floor entirely covered in basically the same aesthetic. Remember in Prey when you saw the Guts tunnel for the first time, or when you first entered the Arboretum? Man, that was a great moment. And I'm not saying System Shock doesn't have those moments. It might. I have no idea, because after 10 hours exploring the medical level, the research level, the maintenance level, the storage level, the reactor level, and the flight deck, 99% of them feeling like the same place to me, I took a break. I came back the next day, keeping track of exactly where I was going. I shut off the mining laser thing on the reactor level, and I made my way to the central control room on the research level to fire the laser, to see that the door to the central control room was locked. I had already explored this entire level the day before. How did I not unlock this door? I had no idea how it was supposed to be opened. I looked around me and thought about the potential hour I could spend looking for a solution in this place where everything looks the same, and I said, I'm out. I've seen enough. If this is the immersive sim genre, then I guess I'm just not an immersive sim fan. I'm a Prey fan. I love the immersive sim aspects in Prey, but I don't love it because it's an immersive sim. I don't go out looking for immersive sims. I just like Prey altogether. That happens. I have a friend who doesn't like any shooting games, but he loves Dead Space. Why? I don't know. It just works for him. I'll never understand it. But really, how immersive sim is this in the first place? My understanding is that immersive sims provide lots of interesting options to solve problems, particularly navigational ones. In Prey, you could go find the keycard to open the door, but you could also break a window and shoot a switch, or use an alien power to sneak through an opening, or climb on top and find an open vent, or hack the door open. I love that about Prey, but I didn't get that from the System Shock remake. I'm sure the original System Shock isn't that complex, it didn't need to be, it's from 1994, but for a remake, couldn't they have been a little inspired by the game that took what they started and elevated it to new heights? Why is every mission just about finding keycards and hitting switches? Where are the creative solutions to all these problems? Did I just miss them? Maybe I did. So look, obviously this game for the most part didn't work for me. I don't know how to judge it based on the original because I didn't play it. And I don't think you have to know the original before playing a remake. A game should stand on its own, and for lots of people this will be their first System Shock experience. I wanted to see what it was going to be like from their view. A lot of the stuff here I'm not even saying is bad. Is the recycler limitation bad? I don't know, maybe they have their reasons. Is the fact that the levels all look the same bad? I don't know, maybe people like the uniform feel of the space station and they find it immersive in a Dead Space Alien Isolation way. Is the lack of any indication as to what you're supposed to be doing bad? Maybe that's part of the appeal for the fans. A lot of it just didn't work for me personally, and people are going to ask what I think, so I'm here to tell you and vent my frustrations. Some of it I do think is bad. I think the AI is unacceptably boring even for modern indie standards. I think the puzzle variety is bad. I think the respawn system negatively affects combat. But in the end, I did keep it up for 10 hours over a few days. I kept giving it another shot, here and there finding a moment that made me say, okay, yeah, that's pretty alright. Let's keep going a little more. So hey, that's something. Look, it's not going to be on my worst of the year list or anything. I know people who got to play System Shock early and they seem to love it. There's going to be lots of old school fans who say this is a wonderful remake that stands true to the original while also improving on it. I'm sure that's true, but for some people this game just isn't going to work, and I hope this video helps you understand why. Thanks for watching. You know to follow this channel for all my wacky opinions on stuff. Like, subscribe, and comment, follow me on Twitch, join my Patreon, which has no benefits whatsoever, and I'll see you again in my next video on... you know what, I'm not sure what it's gonna be. I have a few things in production. Maybe I should talk about Overload. Should I finally play DMC 3? Should I publish my Dead Space 2 video?